The time period of the story is 2029, the place is Los Angeles, the place is completely full, the city is full of crime. People have no homes, no jobs, crime rates have risen so high that they cannot be managed, and people cannot be arrested and put in jail. That means there is less space. So a solution is needed for this. There is only one solution to this, and that is mercy court. I mean, the process of arresting a person and putting them in jail and giving them a trial is called lendy. It takes a very long time. This means there are no more hassles with judges, juries, and execution. Because all the responsibility has been left to the mercy court, which is completely powered by AI, artificial intelligence. You will only be taken to mercy court if you are found guilty. You are guilty and you will have 90 minutes to prove yourself innocent. You will have all kinds of visual and audio data available to prove your innocence, and if you fail to do so within that specified time, you will be executed immediately with a sonic blaster. It means you will be killed. So this mercy court process begins and it is a success. The crime rate in the state has dropped drastically. People can now live in peace. But that's not the story. The story is that Detective Chris was taken to this mercy court. The one whose initiative made this mercy court successful has been brought here today. But why? Chris wakes up and doesn't remember anything. He doesn't understand what happened. In front of him is an AI judge named Maddox, which explains the whole thing to Chris, that he was brought to this mercy court because he is charged with murdering his own wife, Nicole Raven. Chris is absolutely stunned by this thing. He can't believe his wife is dead. But all the blame falls on him. All the evidence they have indicates that Chris committed the murder himself. Because Chris was probably in the same room at the time his wife was murdered. Now, an interesting thing is that in this court, all kinds of cloud data are made available to the accused. That is, he will be able to verify for himself whether the accusations made against him are true or false. There is a cloud service running across the state called the Los Angeles Municipal Cloud. That is, the police have all the information about the camera phones in the entire state, it is in the cloud. So Chris first tries to verify whether the case is valid or whether the matter is true. He searches and finds that yes, it is true. As I said, this mercy court was started because of that. But first, a criminal named David Waite was sent to this court about 2 years ago, and since then this mercy court has been running successfully, but today he has to stand on this scaffold. Chris has only 90 minutes. During this time he must either acquit himself or bring his guilt probability to 92. He is currently 97 guilty. I mean, looking at the evidence against him, it seems like he's guilty. Now if he can reduce it to 92, he will not be sentenced to death. And by the way, only if someone's guilt probability is over 80 is he or she sent to the mercy court. So it turns out that there is all kinds of evidence against Chris, and he is considered guilty. Now it's his turn to prove himself innocent. Chris was shown the video footage on the basis that he was being found guilty. The camera on their doorbell showed the exact moment Chris entered the house that morning. Chris was in his room for about 20 minutes. We clearly see that his wife was not letting Chris into the house. That's why Chris looks a little angry. Chris seems to be a bit of a violent type. He even punches the camera. Then he enters the room, and after spending more than 20 minutes, he leaves the room. Sometime later, when his daughter entered the room, she could hear her daughter screaming. Because he enters the house and sees his mother's bloody body, who was brutally murdered with a knife. Chris then went to a bar and started drinking. He was extremely intoxicated when the police went to arrest him, and he started fighting with the police. He started doing extreme things there due to his intoxication. Finally, a policeman hit him on the head with a baton and he fell unconscious. That AI George says that perhaps because of Chris' head injury and the large amount of alcohol in his body, he doesn't remember the exact moments of how he got here. What happened? Maybe that's why it doesn't occur to him that he killed his own wife. Maddox asks him why Chris went to his house at that moment. Did he even come in to pick a fight? Look, when Chris left the house, his clothes were clearly stained with blood, which means that something happened. Chris doesn't remember anything. He wants to talk to his own daughter, that is, Britt. But Maddox won't let him talk. He can't contact any juvenile except the only witness. But Chris keeps requesting repeatedly that she is my daughter, I want to talk to my daughter, especially since he has a personal call facility that he wants to take, so Maddox tells him that he has to send a request to talk to his daughter, who is currently with her great-grandfather. Well, Chris has been given an advantage. One of his partners, his friend, Rob Nelson, the sponsor of his meeting, will let Chris talk to him whenever he wants. By sponsor, Rob means the person who has been supporting Chris emotionally for so long. It was helping him to quit his addiction and lead a better life. Chris wants to talk to him. He tells Maddox that Rob will tell him that Chris and his wife Nicole had a happy life. There was no fuss. I mean, Chris is trying to prove that he didn't kill his wife. Obviously, why would a happy couple kill each other? But this is not valid proof. First, the court has a lot of valid evidence that the relationship between Chris and his wife had broken down. It wasn't good at all. The court has all the records. Chris and Nicole started dating about 20 years ago. Later they got married. They also have a beautiful daughter. However, an incident later occurred. Another close friend of Chris's is his job partner Ray, who died on duty. Which breaks Chris emotionally. This began to affect Chris's own life, as well as his family life. Nicole has been sending Chris and all of her friends numerous messages about how Chris is losing his temper and getting angry over and over again. Everything is becoming addicted to alcohol. They have records of all the messages, which proves that yes, Chris had a temper issue. And this is why Nicole tries to divorce Chris. Chris kept saying again that he didn't love his wife. Then the AI, Maddox, started telling him about love and Green's explanation that love is a type of neurobiological phenomenon. This means that people can feel happiness and love through the release of dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Similarly, anger is also a type of neurobiological phenomenon, which makes our happy love overwhelming. That is, anger is more intense than love. The fact that Chris loved his wife never proves that he didn't kill her. This is a video footage where we see Chris arguing with his wife. Chris gets a little angry. Chris had a knife in his hand that looked a little scary. By the way, that video footage was taken by their daughter Britt. This means that it is understood that this mercy court has full access to this cloud. They can extract video footage from everywhere. Chris's daughter is Britt. They were able to extract some video footage from her Instagram where Britt was talking to her boyfriend. Britt was talking about his father, Chris, being aggressive. How his father was constantly yelling and arguing at home. His daughter has many such videos. However, Chris said that his daughter has not posted any such videos. Chris used to follow his daughter's Instagram. However, his daughter actually has two separate profiles. A profile that she hid from Chris. Anyway, at that moment, Chris spoke to Britt and their connection was established. While Chris has repeatedly tried to convince his daughter that he didn't do this, he didn't kill her mother. But who will believe him? On the other hand, Britt is being brainwashed by Chris's in-laws who will not let Britt talk to Chris. Chris is literally broken from the inside. His wife is dead. On the other hand, his daughter doesn't trust him now. On the other hand, time is also passing. But Chris doesn't have much time either. Which Maddox reminds him of. Chris asks for some time from him. Because it is a type of human emotion. We need some time to work things out. Which AI will never understand. But it's also true that if Chris can't bring his own grill probability to 92 within that time, he will be sentenced to death. Chris realizes that now is not the time to express regret. He needs to gather evidence. He wants to talk to his own partner. That is, Jacqueline or Jack. Chris can call for two reasons. Ida is not a human being statement, but a crime investigation. He talks to his current partner Jack, who was at the crime scene, i.e. Chris's house. They have all the records from that crime scene available. All images are available. But Chris wants to see it in real time, right in front of him. The entire crime scene is scanned and rendered, giving Chris a completely immersive experience. So that Chris can see all the evidence in detail before his own eyes. First, they find a broken vase that Chris himself broke because it was Nicole's favorite. He broke it to make Nicole angry, and one of the pieces cuts Nicole's hand. The blood gets on Chris's shirt, but everyone thinks that the blood got on Chris's shirt when Nicole was killed. Then they enter the kitchen where Nicole died and see a footprint in her blood, which is probably Chris's daughter Britt, who stepped there when she entered the room and saw her mother's body. Then, a plate is broken on one side of the kitchen. They looked at the broken pieces and generated exactly which direction the plate was thrown. The kitchen knife was missing. The one with which Nicole was murdered. That knife has Chris' fingerprints on it. There is even evidence all around, including Chris's hair on the clothes and the evidence that Chris must have committed this murder. Looking at the crime scene, it was clear that there had been a struggle. That plate I saw broken must have been thrown by Nicole to save herself. But now Chris has to find out who committed the murder. They scan Nicole's phone. Call history. Pretty much everything is shorted out, from what percentage of calls Nick made to whom, to which evidence cannot be extracted. Then Chris remembered the video his daughter had made of Chris and Nicole arguing and Nicole chatting to someone. But who? They have the metadata of the video, meaning at what moment the video was recorded and at that particular time. No messages were sent from Nicole's phone. Chris says that Nicole must have been messaging someone from her work phone. But they couldn't find a second phone. Of course there is a second phone. They need to find a phone that was provided to them 6 months ago from where Nicole worked. But Chris doesn't have that number. I mean, Chris made the call a long time ago, and he forgot. However, Maddox has all of Chris' phone records and they find the number from that old record from 6 months ago and call the number they find in Nicole's car. That is a type of black market SIM unit or what is called a burner phone, which is not connected to their municipal cloud. That is, Maddox or this AI does not have access to who was being called on that phone or the data contained in it. Anyway, only one number was called from that phone. This means that Nick used that particular phone to contact someone. And that phone or that number was a black market SIM unit, which is not connected to that cloud. That means they have no information about what conversation took place between Nicole and the person she was talking to. So when Maddox tried to call her by calling that number, she immediately hung up. They realized that it's probably a suspect they need to look for. At the moment he hung up the phone, his location was in the red zone of Hollywood. They have to go there now. So Chris suspects that his wife was having an affair and that she may have killed Nicole. Now that they have a suspect, Chris' guilt probability has dropped to 96. So Jack arrives at that location to catch the suspect who is currently at the Harrison Hotel where the phone tracker is on. So Jack and his team arrive there and find the man trying to escape through the rear side. His name is Patrick Brooke, a chef at that hotel. So after a long chase, they finally catch Patrick, who openly admits that he was having an affair with Nicole. He started blaming Chris for saying that Nicole wasn't happy with you at all, but she was happy with me, Hontan. Then Patrick procured the SIM card for Nicole from the black market, through which they would talk secretly. Patrick also has another extra burner phone that has many videos of Patrick and Nicole, when they are talking about their dating, everything. But this doesn't prove that Patrick killed Nicole. The exact time of Nicole's murder is 10:41 a.m. and Patrick was in the hotel kitchen at that time. He didn't kill Nicole. And after this, Chris's guilt probability increased to 98. Why? Chris's job is to gather evidence. However, instead of doing this, more evidence has come to the court. It could also be that Chris killed his wife because he suspected her. He had such a motive. Talking to Patrick proves that this is the case. Chris then began to remember the old words about where it all began. Where did all this start? The reason he has a bad relationship with his wife today and is currently being blamed for his wife's murder. The time was when she and Ray were partners and some criminals shot Ray and escaped because of his beauty. After a long chase, Chris finally catches an AQ. However, in the end, the man was proven innocent in court. The meaning is that Chris loses his closest friend, but the murderer is not brought to justice. This is what breaks him down even more and he becomes addicted to alcohol. And this is the one thing he was trying to support this mercy court so much for, because even though humans make mistakes, AI never makes mistakes. He is very precise. But Maddox is repeatedly reminding Chris that he is losing his focus. Time is running out. He doesn't have much time. He needs to gather evidence. Chris simply accepted defeat. He thought maybe he was drunk. Maybe he killed his own wife because of a bad relationship. He doesn't want to fight anymore. Because right now his guilt probability is at 98. How will he reduce it? He has accepted defeat. However, Maddox says there is still time and he has full access to this cloud. Maddox has his full support. Even if Chris admits his guilt, he will have to wait until this countdown. So instead of waiting so long and dying, at least he should utilize the time properly and prove himself innocent. Does that mean he really doesn't want to know who killed his wife? Then Chris started to focus a little. Chris asked Maddox to gather all the contacts that Nicole spoke to regularly. But it's difficult to find out who killed so many people. Maybe Patrick was right when he told her that if Chris had given his wife a little time, he might have known a lot of what was on Nicole's mind. And after watching that recording, it occurred to Chris that Patrick might know something. He contacts Patrick again, who is currently in jail, to make the police run for a long time. So he learned from Barack that his wife had been a little worried lately. Some chemicals were going missing at the company where Nicole worked. He was very worried every month that some chemicals were going missing from the shipments they were sending. Patrick doesn't know much about chemicals or any other problems. Anyway, now Chris understands that Nicole's problem was work-related. That's why all of Nicole's friends' contacts were removed and the contacts of her work colleagues were merged. There's also a picture of their Quakers, a picture taken from a recent barbecue party they had. Chris thinks that one of their Quakers is responsible for Nicole's death or this murder, but who it is? It's just a hunch, which means Chris will have to work hard. But this court works on facts, but Chris says that facts are basically black and white and true or false. So, there are many complicated things like this, but Maddox doesn't understand it because, as I said, he's a program, making guesses, making money. AI can never do these things, but he cooperates with Chris, and Maddox is getting him the kind of evidence that Chris wants. So they talk to Jack, that is, Chris' current partner, who doesn't have any help, and they are trying to gather some information from the company that Nicole works for. Probably Viking Shipping, a pretty big company. So everyone came to that barbecue party. Perhaps one of them had spotted a secret passage or road leading into Chris's house and quietly entered through it this morning and killed Nicole. However, there is no such evidence from all the CCTV footage they have in the area. This means that none of their personal cars were seen around Chris's house. This morning, no unknown car was parked there. On the other hand, Chris's neighbor, Bill Peterson, had installed a type of bird cam. The camera that could see the backyard of Chris's house. But they don't have video footage of it. Because it will take some time for the bills that the internet provider has archived to arrive. Chris then saw from the CCTV footage from that day who had come to the barbecue party in the car. One of them is Rob, with whom Chris has spoken many times. Rob brought 3 others with him. I mean, their colleagues who did not return with the Lord. I mean, Rob left first and they left later. They probably took him to Uber. Now they have no proof that any of them were hiding somewhere because everyone came to their office this morning or on duty. I mean, everyone who came to the party that day came to duty, so of course none of them killed anyone. Then Chris talked to his own daughter and noticed a video of his daughter. While his daughter was recording, there was a noise at their door. His daughter, Breed, said that their father, Chris, had probably returned home, but at that exact time when the video was recorded, Chris was in his office. So this proves that Chris did not enter the house at that moment. But where did the sound of the door come from? Chris calls her again because his daughter, Britt, could be a witness at this moment. His daughter said that she really heard a voice that night. Chris asks if perhaps his mother might have gotten out of the house. But no. Nicole was sleeping at the time. Britt said he heard a type of door closing and also heard a type of noise. Britt has a separate secret Instagram account where he makes some kind of spooky video, in which he calls his house a ghost house because of the strange noises coming from it, and by watching that video, Chris can notice that the basement door is open and Chris always keeps the basement door locked or closed. He asks his daughter if she went to the basement. Breed says that he never goes to the basement. So why is that door open? When he asked Maddox to upscale the image of the door opening, a hand was clearly visible. Chris only realized that the murderer was hiding in the basement. He probably came to that barbecue party on a rideshare, meaning he didn't bring his own car, and he didn't leave the party, but hid in that basement for 2 days. However, Chris's guilt probability has not decreased yet. Why does Chris question him? Mero says it's probably a problem with shadow or a glitch or something. This doesn't exactly prove that there is someone hiding there who killed Nicole. At the same time, Maddox also tells Chris that Chris is moving off the road. This investigation began when Chris learned that Nicole was a little stressed about her job because some chemicals were missing. Chris has forgotten this topic. Maddox then reminded him of that and they began investigating in that direction. So first they checked Nicole's work emails. The emails are where they learn about the missing chemicals. Chemically speaking, it is urea granules. About 50 kilotons of the shipments they sent were disappearing every time. For about 6 months. 50 kilotons of synthetic urea have been disappearing from the shipments they send every month. It is estimated that about 300 kilos are missing so far. Now many beauty products and even drugs are made with synthetic urea. This one has a pretty high market value. While checking those emails, they found out that apart from Nicole, another co-worker of hers, namely Hold Charles, or whom I will call Hold, also knew about it, and at one point he even went to talk to Nicole about it. We can see a fight between them as if there was a disagreement between Hold and Nicole about something. Hold says that he wants some time and he will fix everything, but what happened is that Hold has a habit of gambling. They also check the bank details of the old Hold and can see that his credit score is also down and in a very bad condition. His financial condition is not good at all. That means he is drowning in debt. However, recently Rob helped him a little by giving him money. So anyway, this is proof that Holt probably killed Nicole for money. Nicole found out about Holt's theft. But they don't have valid proof. Yes, this could be a motive for Chris' guilt probability to drop back to 94%, but it wasn't enough. So Chris calls Rob and Rob works at the same company. However, Hold received the call that everyone thinks is the culprit. Hold knows that it's okay that he's calling Rob, so he leaves. Now they don't have the exact information about where Hold was that morning. Now, if Hold really committed the murder or if he was afraid, he would try to escape from there quietly. So if he can't do that and Detective Ray is being sent in to get the word out of him, Chris' current partner. On the other hand, they received video footage from the bird camera installed by Bill Peterson, who was not Chris' neighbor, where exactly no people were seen. However, the bushes and trees in the distance moved a little, as if someone was hiding there. Unfortunately, the camera then went offline. Because his neighbor, Bill Peterson, had left the house with his camera offline. But whoever came to Chris's house, committed the murder, or was hiding behind that bush, somehow got out. But if I went out, I would have been caught on camera somewhere. However, it will take some time for the data to update due to an internet outage in Bill Peterson's area. Chris doesn't have much time, and Hold, on the other hand, has returned to tell him that he couldn't find Rob. Christ is arguing with Holt in return. He asks Holt to confess the truth about who committed the murder. The missing chemicals were stolen from that company and sold, and they killed Nicole. But finally Holt said that he had done nothing of the sort. Rather, Rob was stealing the missing chemicals. The one the people in this company love so much. Especially Chris, who trusts him so much. Since Rob's behavior was good, he also gave money to Hold. Which is why they kept quiet and didn't let anyone know about Rob's affair. But where is Rob now? Poor knows that Rob has left with a car and a truck from this company. He didn't come to work yesterday because he wasn't feeling well, and he had been feeling a little sick since morning, so he took the car and left. And then Chris finds out that Rob didn't come to work yesterday. Holt also said that Rob was left alone at that barbecue party when everyone went home. Because he has some personal things to say to Nick. That is, with Chris's wife. Rob even gives Holt his own car, which Holt and the rest of the people drive home, and then no one knows what happens to Rob. At that time, Chris's neighbor Bill Peterson was unable to get the video footage due to internet problems in that area, but they finally got it. We see that when Bill drives back, Rob sneaks out of the trunk of his car. So now I hope you understand the sequence. Rob didn't come back from the barbecue party. But he was hiding at Chris's house. The bird camera that was installed for the birds. We saw something moving in the bush. Rob was probably hiding there. He knew that he would be caught by the camera, so he hid there. Then he waited for Bill to turn off the camera. Bill turned off the camera because he was going to go out. At that opportunity, Rob quietly hid in the trunk of Bill's car. And that's why Rob wasn't caught on any of the cameras installed outside. He got out in that trunk and then he goes to his own work, then talks to Chris, and a little while ago, he quietly leaves in one of their company's trucks. Chris then warns Jack that Rob may be armed because he got his friend a license last month. That's why Jack raids Rob's house with his entire swarm team. Although the house was empty, Rob could not be found. But there they find a picture. They cite photos of Rob's childhood and the information from which they claim that Rob was raised in an orphanage. He was later adopted. However, there was a picture of another person with him that was cropped. Chris then tells Maddox that it will take some time to find a match for that photo and to search the entire internet to find it. Anyway, Rob has already left his garage. Then the team, completely unprepared, raids the garage where they find some plans that Rob has been making for a long time. Even though he burned all the evidence. What is he going to do with all that chemical now? They will make drugs, which has a lot of market value. Although he comes from an electrical engineering background, some of his skills could also be useful in chemistry. Well, from the body cam footage of the SWAT team, Chris sees a type of calendar, and the last time Chris was talking to Rob, he was sitting in this very spot. And the same calendar was behind Rob. Rob was saying that he had gone to work. Is he at his workplace? But that is a lie. He was sitting in this garage talking to Chris. There they get some samples of chemicals and find a terrorism handbook that contains all the processes for making bombs. There he is trying to make urea nitrate, which can be used to make an explosive, and he has stolen all the components he needs to make it from the Viking company. He's basically making a bomb. The number plate of that Raptor track has also been removed so that no one can track it. However, Maddox is tracking all of the shipping company's trucks on the road, and they have found one truck that is traveling at high speed and heading for the drop-off. His speed is slowly increasing and it's probably Rob driving it. At the same time, they completed half of Rob's film. Rob had another child with him, who was Rob's brother, and that was David Webb, whose death sentence this Mercy Court first began with. This means that the first execution in Mercy Court was of David Webb, Rob's brother. Rob wants revenge on Chris for killing his crazy daughter Nicole. Not just Chris, but the entire Mercy Court wants revenge. So Rob is driving that truck back in the morning and they find a second hit signature there. That means there is someone else in that car besides Rob. But who is that? From the route of his truck, they understand that the car passed by Chris's in-laws' house where Chris's daughter Britt is currently staying, and that Rob kidnapped Britt and took her hostage. On the other hand, Rob had already planted a bomb where the police were investigating, which exploded. Maddox says that such a big incident happened with a very small amount of explosives, and if the truck Rob is carrying explodes, the entire city will be blown up. And after all this, Chris's guilt probability finally reached 0. This means that solid proof has come to them that Rob has done so much. Now, will Chris be released? If Chris is released, then Chris will lose all access to this cloud. He will no longer have the power he had for so long to see all the information in the world. That's why he tells Maddox not to close that access. But this is a rule of thumb. First of all, if Chris sits in this chair, he will die. On the other hand, if they don't have access to this cloud, then Rob will do something big. He has already done a lot of things. On the other hand, Maddox is suffering from a conflict of his own. She was blaming Chris at first. Chris was told that speaking your mind doesn't get you anywhere. But he finally realizes that the guesses he made about Chris's death turned out to be true. Not everything can always be judged by facts. That's why Maddox feels like a failure. Maybe he didn't do his job properly. But Chris makes him realize that everyone makes mistakes, even AI. But now it's time to do it right. Rob has only 9 minutes to stop them. But how? Rob is in complete GTA form. ELO Pathari is going to drive and no one can stop him. Captain Havelock then tried to disable Rob's car using a drone. The police simply have no other way to stop Rob. But if they do this, then there is another person in that car, Chris's daughter Britt. He will be injured too. That's why Chris tells them to stop. But they do and listen. They try to destroy that truck. But their drone no longer works. Why not? Because Maddox has blocked their access. In fact, Maddox is fully supporting Chris. So when Detective Jack tries to shoot Rob straight in the face, not caring that Breed is also sitting in the car, Maddox disables Jack's flying car, the hovering car, and finally Rob drives his truck into the Mercy building that Rob is trying to blow up and gets out of the car, taking Breed hostage. There, in that accident, the server that Maddox had and the server that Mercy had were reset a little, due to which it took a while for Maddox to get back online. On the other hand, time was also running out, but just in time, Maddox freed Chris from the chair before the countdown reached 0. At the same time, Rob was also calling Chris. Chris reached there as he spoke. Rob was extremely angry. The detonator in his hand was a type of deadman sweep, meaning that the bomb would explode if Rob died. But why was he doing so much? Just for his own brother, whom he had lost a long time ago. Rob knows that his brother was innocent and was sentenced to death in this merciless crime. His brother, David Webb, was accused of murdering a woman. However, Rob was talking to his brother when the murder occurred. Now Rob is very angry. He needs to be calmed down first, and to calm him down, Maddox starts talking to Rob. Started cooperating with him. He started listening to the Lord's words. On the other hand, he also told Chris that if he could somehow remove the battery from the detonator that Rob had in his hand, then there might be a chance. So Maddox tries to keep Rob busy, and Britt takes the opportunity to bite Rob's hand. On the other hand, Chris also comes and removes the battery from the detonator that was used to stop the fight. They finally caught Rob by the hand. Now Chris is very angry. This guy killed Nicole. But Chris didn't fire. At that moment, Jack comes there again, who will kill Rob, but Chris stops him because they want to hear what Rob has to say. Rob says that on the 15th, he talked to his brother for more than an hour at night. His brother did not kill Rob. Rob even called the police station where he told this whole thing, but his words were not heard. But this time Maddox listens to his words. Checks his call history and really sees that he talked to his brother that night. Rob's brother David Webb took his case. Jacqueline, that is, even though Jack knew that Rob had called many times, he ignored it and ignored it. Her brother David had a phone that Rob had given him, so where is that phone now? They check Detective Jacqueline's body cam and see that she took that phone, David Webb's phone, and threw it directly into the river. Why did she do this? Because David Webb's case was the first of this mercy court, and she wanted this court to be successful so that the guilty would be punished. But David Webb was not at fault. David was talking to his brother on the day he was murdered. Finally, the truth is revealed and Inspector Jack is also arrested. Finally, Maddox realizes how much flaws is in him. He realizes this mistake he made. On the other hand, Chris' ongoing case is closed and Chris finally meets his daughter Britt. And the movie ends here. So this was the story. How do you like it? I liked it because the concept is very unique. We watched the movie in a unique style. I especially like these mystery type movies where the mysteries are completely revealed. So if a little sci-fi touch is given to these type of movies, I don't usually miss these Jenna movies. I hope you also enjoyed this video of mine. Don't forget to write your opinion in the comments section and don't forget to follow me on social media. The links are in the description. If you are watching, give me a thumbs up. Be well, be careful, take care and bye.